So topic number four is just some kind of quick data to point out is today was the U.S. China trade surplus, or from our perspective, deficit, right? The surplus for China, deficit for us, has grown, and that's because China bought about $13.11 billion worth of goods in May,
Hmm.
which was down from about $14 billion in April. So they're buying less from us than we're buying from them at the moment, and Chinese imports from other countries rose at their fastest pace in 10 years to other countries. So they're basically importing from other nations faster than they're importing from the United States, and it seems that their imports from us have slowed about 41% from 52% in the prior month. So in terms of growth, there's definitely some activity there, and which makes sense if we're basically facing off against China in a tech battle. Trade may be affected by that. Also, the tariffs and the restrictions on certain types of trade are definitely kind of come down the line from the Trump administration, right? They want to kind of shrink that deficit on our end, right? Give us more of try to get us more of a surplus, but it doesn't seem to be working that well yet. Importers and exporters have been taking big hits, especially with all this inflation. And if we do have bigger trade wars with China, and as this becomes more material, as we really do stand off against each other versus tech, I imagine that we would, China may start to get things from other places as well, just like Russia's dropping U.S. dollar denominated, currency as well as oil contracts. So we're planning to, at least. So there's definitely this is the global macro kind of thing, and the strength of the U.S. dollar, which will affect most businesses, especially any companies that do things overseas, exporting and importing. So, in addition to that, the U.S. budget deficit grew $1.2 trillion in the first 8 months of the fiscal year, ending in May, which kind of makes sense, right? Because we spent about $4.7 trillion between October and May for the COVID relief. So no really big surprise there. I mean, the number looks really big, but deficit spending is a common political uh, way of solving quote unquote solving problems, but not solving them. So we have $30 trillion. Both Democrats and Republicans just they don't do it, and then they just flood it in there. So um, so that's really no big surprise. But the numbers are up, and the deficits are getting bigger, and that's the segment we're gonna have to talk about just in detail about what debt is and what's happening, because that is skyrocketing, and we are borrowing against our future selves ridiculously, and trying to stimulate today with money that we really don't have, and we're gonna have to pay back. So definitely some interesting thing there, just to kind of take stock of where we are at. Big deficits, definitely big deficits, but not necessarily like, oh, big guys, we spent a ton of money. So that kind of makes sense.
Interesting,
Um,
interesting. What are some things to look forward to? So you mentioned that China has grown their surplus uh, towards
well, that's just
trading
how
with
the
other
trade. That's just
countries, right? Other, or more
Well,
globally.
no, no. So what the surplus is, like, basically when you trade with another country, right? Depending on how many goods are going from your country and going from their country, right? Imports and exports, there's a surplus and a deficit, and your goal is to try to keep it as even as possible. So trade benefits both countries unilaterally, right?
Hmm.
Instead of having one country benefit more. We've always had a problem with trade deficits with China because we're an import nation, right? And as an import nation, we import more things than we export. We don't do as much manufacturing. We outsource manufacturing to China, right? And we import a lot of stuff that we buy, which is all. That's why everything says made in China in it. So it's made sense for a while, and the Trump administration was trying to kind of limit that, to kind of bring it back into parity there, bring it back into balance. Um, but if we're having conflict with China in one way or the other, they may be getting their goods from other places if they could find just as stable resources and supply chains. And it looks like they're moving imports from other countries at a faster pace than they have in the last 10 years. So, and there wasn't tons of information on this, so we're gonna have to kind of keep looking at it, right? But again, I don't think it's a huge impact right now. Trade these things do fluctuate. We have to just kind of keep watching it. But just something interesting to know, from today. So,
Great, great.
uh,
Oh, yeah.